80 years ago, on August 8, 1945, the Soviet Union formally entered the war against Japan. The next day, over 1 million Soviet troops launched an offensive into Japanese-controlled Manchuria in northeastern China, targeting a Japanese force of about 700,000 soldiers. The American atomic bombing of Hiroshima failed to bring about Japan's immediate surrender. Within Japan's top leadership group, the Supreme War Direction Council, half of the members still refused to give in without firm assurances from the Allies about Japan's post-war future, particularly concerning the status of Emperor Hirohito. Meanwhile, the few civilians who were aware of the bombing in Hiroshima were either dead or in severe distress. Japan had not been deeply concerned about a Soviet threat, believing the Soviets were preoccupied with Germany and wouldn't launch an attack until spring 1946. However, the Soviets took Japan by surprise, invading Manchuria just one day after they declared war. The assault was devastating of the 850 Japanese troops stationed at Pingyangchen. 650 were killed or wounded within just 2 days. The brutal offensive pushed Emperor Hirohito to urge his war council to reconsider surrender, and those who had resisted the idea began to change their stance. On the night of August 8, 1974, U.S. President Richard Nixon delivered a televised speech from the Oval Office that he would resign from the presidency the next day, August 9th, due to the Watergate scandal. His resignation marked the end of what he called the long and difficult period of Watergate, a major political scandal of the 1970s that began with a break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters during the 1972 election that escalated when the Nixon administration tried to conceal its involvement. As the scandal unfolded, Nixon's public and political support sharply declined. By the time of his resignation, impeachment and removal from office were nearly certain. In his address, Nixon explained that he was stepping down because he believed he no longer had the congressional support needed to make difficult decisions and effectively fulfill the responsibilities of the presidency. He hoped his resignation would help begin a process of national healing. Nixon admitted that some of his decisions had been wrong and expressed regret for the harm caused, though he did not directly mention the articles of impeachment pending against him. On the morning of August 9th, Nixon submitted his formal resignation letter to Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, becoming the first and only United States president to resign. Vice President Gerald Ford then assumed the presidency. On August 8, 2008, the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing, China opened. A total of 10,942 athletes representing 204 national Olympic committees participated in 28 sports and 302 events at the Olympics, one more event than in the 2004 Games. This marked the first time China hosted the Olympics and the third time the Summer Games were held in East Asia, following Tokyo in 1964 and Seoul in 1988. It was also the second time the Summer Olympics were held in a communist country, the first being the 1980 Moscow Games, which included venues across several Soviet republics. Beijing was chosen to host the 2008 Olympics on July 13, 2001, defeating 4 other candidate cities after 2 rounds of voting by the International Olympic Committee. The Chinese government strongly supported the Games, pouring resources into new infrastructure and transportation systems. A total of 37 venues were used, with 12 built specifically for the event. Equestrian competitions took place in Hong Kong, making this the third time Olympic events were held under the jurisdiction of 2 different NOCs. Sailing was hosted in Qingdao, and football matches occurred in several states. The official emblem, Dancing Beijing, designed by Guo Chuning, featured a stylized version of the Chinese character for capital, resembling a dancing human figure representing the host of city. The games reached a global audience of 3.5 billion and included the longest torch relay in Olympic history. Numerous Olympic and world records were broken, and the games became the most expensive Summer Olympics ever, second only to the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi in overall cost. The opening ceremony received global acclaim, with many calling it the most spectacular in Olympic history. Beijing later became the first city to host both the Summer and Winter Olympics when it hosted the Winter Games in 2022. A record 87 nations won at least one medal in 2008. China, as the host, led the gold medal count with 48, becoming the seventh country to top the Summer Games medal rankings. They earned 100 medals in total. The United States ranked second in golds but led the overall medal count with 112, followed by Russia in third place for both golds and total medals. These games marked the return of the Summer Olympics to Asia for the first time since 1988. It was Serbia's first appearance as an independent nation since 1912, and Montenegro's debut after its 2006 separation from Serbia. Nepal also participated for the first time as a republic, and the Marshall Islands and Tuvalu made their Olympic debuts. Mongolia and Panama claimed their first ever Olympic golds, while Afghanistan, Mauritius, Serbia, Sudan, Tajikistan, and Togo all earned their first Olympic medals. Notably, North Korea marched independently at the opening ceremony, breaking from its previous symbolic joint entrances with South Korea in the three prior games it attended. That's kind of all the events I have for today. If you like what you hear, leave a comment down below and subscribe. This is Stephen Luke, and I'll see you next time for another history update. Little Caesars. Very good. So long.